What's up, gardeners? Are you starting to see winter fading in your area and wondering if it might be time to start seeds? If you're in Georgia like me, the answer is definitely yes. So, today in the garden, I've selected 9 crops that can be started indoors and then transplanted out later for a spring garden. But if you're not in Georgia, don't worry. The list that I've selected will still be beneficial for those of you around the southeast that have similar climates. February gives us really rapid and unpredictable weather changes. It's too early to plant tender crops outdoors, but it is time to get them started indoors. In this video, I've included a mix of cool season crops as well as some slow growing warm season crops that'll get your garden off to a great start this year. And if you're worried that you need a lot of room to garden, you're in luck. I'm highlighting some varieties that'll grow great in containers, and if you'd like to grow along with me, I'll add affiliate links to all the varieties that I'm growing down below. If you use these links to purchase your seeds, I'll earn a small commission, but you won't be charged any extra. So let's get growing. The first crop that I'm going to highlight today is beets, and I've picked 2 varieties. First up is the bull's blood beet. This is going to be your traditional deep red beet that you're probably used to seeing in the grocery stores. This has a rich, earthy flavor that I really enjoy. My favorite way to have them is roasted in a beet salad with goat cheese. I've grown this variety for the past 3 years and it's performed well for me every time in the front and backyard gardens. The second variety of beet that I've selected today is the golden boy beet, and this one is a new favorite of mine. While I do like the flavor of traditional red beets, I found the golden beets are a little bit lighter in flavor and they're really sweet. I first learned of this variety last year and it's become one that I really like to grow. The growing conditions are the same as the traditional red beets. I've seen that the maturity for the golden beets tends to take just a little bit longer. That might just be because I grew them over the fall. If you find the flavor of red beets a little too intense, give the golden ones a try and let me know what you think. I'm doing something a little different with my beets this year. Instead of direct sowing the beet seeds like I usually do, this time I'm starting them in these 6-cell trays from Bootstrap Farmer. I'm going to keep them in the cells for about 4 weeks or so and then transplant them out to the garden. I'm trying this technique because I really like beets and I want to see if by planting them as transplants instead of the seeds, I can get my spacing dialed in a little bit better and get slightly larger beets. This next group of crops is all in the Brassica family. I'm planting all of the Brassicas in these 4-cell Bootstrap Farmer trays. I really like these trays because they're larger than the 6-cell trays. They produce a nice healthy seedling and they don't require potting up. The first crop that I want to show you in this group today is broccoli. I'm growing a variety that's new to me this year, and that's the spring rapini variety. This is a classic Italian variety, but it doesn't grow the large heads like we typically see in the grocery store, but instead has these smaller cluster of buds. The buds and the green leaves have a rich, unique flavor that are great stir-fried and steamed. And since this is a sprouting variety, I'm hoping to maximize space by getting a more continuous harvest instead of the one big head of broccoli. The next crop that I picked is Brussels sprouts, and I'm growing the Long Island variety. I'm taking a bit of a gamble with Brussels sprouts because they do better in the colder environments. And even though it's still February, it gets really warm really fast here. So my plan is to start these indoors and then transplant them out when they're about 4 to 6 weeks old. After hardening them off, they'll be able to handle any late season frost that we might get. The one thing that I'm a little worried about with growing Brussels sprouts is that they can take about 100 days to mature. And if we have an unusually warm spring, I'm afraid these might bolt. But I'm all about experimenting with gardening, so if it doesn't work out, I'll have learned a lesson and we'll grow them in the fall next time. The next crop that I'm planting today is cabbage. I've picked 2 varieties to plant this spring. The first up is the red acre cabbage. This is another variety that I'm taking a bit of a gamble on because it's a little bit slower growing and also prefers much cooler weather. I still think it's worth giving these a try though because they produce these medium-sized red cabbage heads that have great flavor. Like Brussels sprouts, these take about 100 days to mature and should produce a really sweet cabbage. The next variety of cabbage is a little bit of insurance for me. It's a variety of Napa cabbage called the 1 kilo slow bulb. This variety is a much quicker grow. It matures in about 50 to 60 days. The flavor is said to be a little bit sweeter and milder than the traditional heading cabbages. I'm looking forward to harvesting this one for cabbage wraps and maybe even kimchi. The next crop that I'm planting in the Brassica family is cauliflower. This is another variety that's new to me, and I'm probably going to mispronounce the name, but it's the Fioretto 60. This is a unique variety that originated in Japan. The Fioretto is also another sprouting variety similar to the broccoli that I'm planting. I think it'll pair really well together with the sprouting broccoli for a variety of dishes. This variety produces small florets with long, slender stems. It's said to have a rich, nutty flavor and be a little bit more tender than your typical cauliflower. The Fioretto 60 is another variety that's supposed to do really well in containers and small spaces. So I'm looking forward to interplanting it in my raised beds. The next crop that I'm planting today is kale. I'm growing the dwarf blue curled variety, and this is an heirloom kale. This variety is one of my daughter's favorites. She really likes the baby kale leaves in her stir fry. So I grow several of these and keep them around so that I can harvest them often instead of letting them to get fully mature. Kale is another one of the crops that can handle a frost really well. Once they're ready to transplant, I'm going to plant them out in my green stalk vertical garden since I don't need them to get quite as big. Now it's time to get into some of the warm season crops. These next three are all in the Nightshade family. First up in this family is eggplant, and today I'm planting two different varieties. The first is the Black Beauty eggplant. This one produces a large egg-shaped fruit. Eggplant and the rest of the crops in the Nightshade family are really sensitive to frost. I typically like to wait at least 2 weeks past my last projected frost date before I plant them outdoors. Be really patient with your transplants and don't plant these outdoors until your temperatures are consistently above 65 degrees. The second variety of eggplant that I'm planting is the early long purple variety. These produce a long cylindrical fruit and they're really prolific. They mature in fruit a little bit faster than the Black Beauty eggplant, so I'm hoping to have a wave of harvest coming in. Last year when I grew the Black Beauty variety, I was a little off with some of my harvest times. I found that if you wait too long to harvest them, the fruit gets a little tough and the seeds get really hard. They're just not pleasant to eat. So I'm hoping to get my timing dialed in for both varieties. The early long variety is another one that grows really well in containers. Next up in the Nightshade family, I'm planting 4 varieties of hot peppers. First up is the Hungarian Yellow Wax pepper. Like the rest of the hot peppers that I'm planting today, these can be really slow to germinate. In some years, I've had them take up to 3 weeks to germinate. I forgot to mention, with the Nightshades, I'm also planting these in the 4-cell trays from Bootstrap Farmer. I really like using the bigger 4-cell trays for the Nightshades because these are going to be indoors for a while and they produce nice, healthy, strong seedlings. In the event that I have to keep these indoors longer than I'm anticipating, I can up-pot them later into the 5-inch pots. The Hungarian wax peppers are a medium-sized, medium-heat pepper. As they mature, they tend to get a little sweeter, but don't be surprised if you stumble upon a really hot one. The next pepper that I'm growing today is the early jalapeno pepper. I picked this early variety of jalapeno because it can handle slightly cooler temps than some other varieties. And since we're planting out early in spring, I won't have to stress too much if temperatures dip. This is a variety that I've grown in the past, and it's been a really prolific producer for me. I'm really looking forward to harvesting this one for pickling peppers and salsa. I'm taking the heat up a notch with my next pepper, and that's the serrano pepper. These have a distinct flavor that's great in pico de gallo and other fresh dishes, or even grilled. This is a medium heat to hot pepper that I like to keep around because my brother sometimes says that the salsa that I make isn't hot enough, so I like to make him a few batches that are extra spicy. I found in years past that even when temperatures get north of 90 degrees, these will keep producing. And even though they might slow down when we have the extreme heat in July, once the temperatures fade, they'll come back and I'll get a second round of really prolific harvest. The next pepper that I'm planting today is the Scotch bonnet pepper. This one's extra hot. It goes all the way up to 350,000 Scoville units. The Scotch bonnet pepper is very similar to the habanero pepper, but it has a bright, fruity flavor. This pepper is really popular in Jamaican dishes, so I'm hoping to try my hand at some jerk recipes this summer. Much like the other hot peppers, the Scotch bonnet is also very sensitive to cold temperatures. So I'm going to wait 2 weeks past my last projected frost date before I plant these outdoors. To speed up germination, I'm using heat mats indoors with the Nightshades. The next crop in the Nightshade family that I'm planting today is tomatoes. The variety that I'm planting today is the Oregon Spring tomato. This is a compact determinate variety that produces 4-inch tomatoes in clusters. Because of their compact nature, this is another great pick for containers or small spaces. The reason I decided to make this the first tomato that I'm planting this year is that this one is bred for cooler conditions. It was bred at Oregon State University to be planted a month before the last frost date, but It's said not to need additional frost protection unless we get a hard frost. This is also an early maturing crop and producing fruit in about 60 days. I haven't grown this one before, so I'm really interested to see what the flavor is like and how it handles our growing conditions. But I can't wait until I get the first tomato of the season. As temperatures continue to rise, it'll soon be time to plant more warm season crops. So subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you'll be alerted when I publish the video of the 9 crops that I'll be planting in March. See you next time.